call the meeting to order, please. If Councilor Mercier would lead us in the
Thank you,
council
Mr.
prayer.
Mayor. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen.
Amen. Please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to recognize...
Roll call first.
Excuse me. Roll call, please.
Councilor Kennedy,
Here.
Councilor Laurie,
Here.
Councilor Martin,
Here.
Councilor Madonza,
Here.
Councilor Mercier,
Here.
Mayor Murphy,
Here.
Councilor Nguyen,
Here.
Councilor Broderick,
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for our former colleague, former city councilor, former mayor, former executive director of the Lowell Housing Authority, my friend, Chairman Armin, the councilor who was the voice of reason, the common sense city councilor, Armin P. Mercier, husband of Annette, father of 3 sons, Paul, Dennis, and Armin, father of 2 daughters, Denise and Pauline, 9 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandsons, his sister Gail, and his brother Henry. We have lost a great public servant whose interest in the city of Lowell and its residents span over 50 years of dedicated service. He was a leader, a gentleman, and a good friend to many. He used his energy to give back to his community, having served on numerous boards and commissions. It was only fitting that they, in their wisdom, named the Lowell Housing Authority's Multi-Service Center after him. I used to joke with former Mayor Mercier and say to him, they may have named a multi-service center after you, but they named the church on Mammoth Road after me. He was one of the last breed of people you just don't see too much of anymore. His funeral will be tomorrow at 11 o'clock at St. Rita's Church, and anyone who would like to come and be a part of the honor guard to honor him, we could meet at 10:30 at St. Rita's in the vestibule to come out at like 5 minutes before 11. That would be great. We offer our deepest sympathy to his family and his many friends. He truly will be missed. Goodbye, my Chairman Armin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to be heard to recognize the service of former Mayor Armin Mercier. You know, for most of his time and my time here, we sat next to each other, and he really brought guidance, I think, wisdom and perspective to these meetings in this chamber. We'd often talk about not only each other but other counselors, and as the debate was ongoing, and oftentimes I would seek his counsel to just say, what do you think we should be doing here? And I know he offered that guidance to me, and I know he offered it to many others. He was certainly a son of Lowell, and somebody who was very interested in the progress of the city, very interested in the activities of the city council, but in all of aspects of government here in the city. I think he brought that same perspective that he brought here to the other roles that he filled in his life at the Housing Authority and the Preservation Commission. Certainly, it was a life well led and a life given in service to this city. And for that, Armin will, I think, always be remembered and certainly truly missed.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank Armin Mercier for his service. Served with him for 4 years here, and short stint as him as a mayor, and he did a truly remarkable job up there. He knew how to run a meeting, and he was respectful to everybody that came through the doors. One thing I remember about him is that he did have great respect for people that came in here. He was very practical, and he really cared about the city. And we didn't always agree on our votes, but we could always have a laugh and share common, I guess, interest in the city and in the direction of the city. And I know that was very important to Armin. And in fact, he ran this fall, and at 77 years old, it showed just right to the end. He cared for the city and put all his time and effort into it. And for that, he will be missed. And I do appreciate and thank his family for letting him do that for all those years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to share a few words on behalf of Councilor Mercier. I served with him many years on the city council. I want to say it was 10 years, and we shared many things. We had many things in common. First and foremost, with his love of Pawtuckaville, which where we both were raised and we both lived. But secondly, with St. John Duck Church, where we used to attend. I agree. I think Councilor Mercier really said most eloquently all of the finer attributes of Councilor Mercier. He loved his city. He loved his church. He loved his French heritage, which we also share. So I just, he will truly be missed, and I think it would be fitting to meet tomorrow at the vestibule to honor his legacy. What was most intriguing about Armin is he certainly could bestow a lot of institutional knowledge about the city, but he also had many political stories that I certainly enjoyed, and many war stories as well that we used to share. So best wishes to him and his family, and he will be missed. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
With Councilor Mercier, but I have known him for a long time. And I do remember when he was when he ran the Housing Authority, which he did for many years and did a great job running the Housing Authority at that time. And also that he was on the Historical Commission when we first got the park money. And he was one of the leaders in the National Park at its inception. And he will be missed by everybody in this city.
Thank you, Councilor. Would you all please rise for a moment of silence in darkened chambers? Rest in peace. Moving on to the city clerk's portion of the agenda, we have minutes for acceptance.
Move approval.
Minutes of January 10th for acceptance. Move for approval by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. The next item on the agenda is actually going to be withdrawn, as it's the application made to the retirement board was rescinded. So if there are any further questions on that, we'll just withdraw that and it'll be brought back, I imagine, at a later time. Moving on to the city manager's portion of the agenda, we have communications from the city manager, response to city council motions and requests. Councilor Mendoza.
Yeah, I just want to thank the manager for the update on the city clock. I was disappointed to hear that it's not repaired yet. It's going to be some weeks. I don't know if, through the mayor, if the manager would like to add anything, any new information.
Mr. Manager.
I'll ask Mr. Marchand to give the latest information on that.
Yes, that's scheduled for being repaired. We thought that when the crane was here, I think it was last week, to remove the decorations, that they'd be able to time everything out and combine it and do some of the outside work at that time. But unfortunately, that didn't quite work out that way, and needing more time and having to get the parts for it. So it will be scheduled for repairs when the parts come in. And this particular clock is, as you can see, gone and being repaired as we speak. So the work is scheduled and will be happening.
All right, thank you. On the, there's another motion of mine that there was an update on for the stop sign at four-way stop at Walker and Grove Street. I appreciate the update. I understand that it doesn't warrant a four-way stop, but there are some improvements in signage that will be placed at the intersection that hopefully will improve that area. And lastly, there was an update regarding the tax rates. And it was good that the average residential rate was even lower than previously had been, that we had been previously told about. Do you have a comparison for the commercial rate, what it was to what it's gone to?
I don't have that right in front of me tonight, Councilor, but we can get that. And we're also doing another bit of analysis with regards to the commercial rate. After the council voted the maximum shift last year, last December, we began collecting some data to compare ourselves to other communities, to look at similar commercial properties, to look at not just the tax rate, but in fact what the actual tax was. So, for instance, we tried to look at an industrial, 50,000 or 100,000 square foot industrial building in Lowell versus the similar building in another community around us, as well as some of our peer communities. A fast food restaurant, those are the easiest ones actually to compare, is a McDonald's here versus a McDonald's or Burger King in some other community. To try to get some sense of how we match up, because I think we match up very well, and the commercial rate doesn't tell the whole story. Much more goes into the calculation, but we can we'll putting together a whole report on that, and then I think the council may want to take some additional steps and discuss that at an economic development subcommittee or something like that to look at that long term.
Yes, I'm not just speaking about the rates. I know that you gave us the average increase per property, the average property, what the increase was. I was looking for similar information for commercial, industrial. I mean, it doesn't have to be provided today, but
yeah. The other difficulty, though, if I could, I apologize, I didn't fully understand the question. I jumped the gun a little bit to tell you the analysis we're doing. It's one of the difficulties of the average rate. It's easier to do the average single family, because the band is so narrow between the lowest and the highest. Commercial becomes much more difficult because you can be talking a 5,000 square foot building and a 200,000 square foot building, and it becomes hard to get a real good average on that. That's why we thought that the other type of analysis we were doing would be helpful, and we could probably do that over a period of time as well, which might address.
I understand, but there's an average property out there. I mean, you can calculate an average property, and there's what they paid last year versus what they paid this year. So I'm sure it can be done mathematically.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
But I understand you might not have the information today, but
Right.
if you could provide that to the council in the future packet, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on communications? Motion to accept by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Laurie, to accept and place on file. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have a communication from the city manager requesting approval of out-of-state travel for the police. Any discussion? Move for approval by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Excuse me,
call.
roll call, please.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Counselor Laurie?
Yes.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Noon?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
And Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Next, we have a communication from the Planning Board, a report and recommendation on proposed zoning ordinance amendment extending the downtown Lowell Smart Growth Zoning Overlay District and replacing section 9.6.75, maximum non-residential use, with the ordinance. Just
Schedule a
for,
public
by way
hearing.
of explanation, does the city manager wish to comment?
Mr. Baker, could you just describe the,
Sure. Good evening, councilors, Mr. Mayor. The zoning amendment, at this point, I believe, is just being referred to a public hearing, so there can be additional discussion at that point. But in a nutshell, this is extending the portion of the city that is currently regulated under the state's smart growth zoning program, whereby if a municipality agrees to allow certain levels of density and levels of development in very specific areas of its community, the state will actually reimburse that municipality for some of the municipal services costs associated with having that development take place. Essentially, there's a payment that gets made when we adopt it, and then there's a payment for every residential unit that gets a building permit issued for it in the district. We presently have this zoning over a small portion of Jackson Street, and the proposed amendment would also extend that to also include the remaining undeveloped portions of the Massachusetts Mills on Bridge Street.
Thank you. We have a motion to refer to a public hearing by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Mendonça, to refer to a public hearing on the 7th of February. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have a vote to accept the proposal of Community Teamwork Incorporated for $178,001 and convey 391 Pawtucket Street, Lot A. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if we could delay vote on this, and we would, I think the appropriate thing at this point would be for the administration to withdraw this motion, and we'll bring this back, or this vote, and we'll bring this back next week. We're working out some final details on this transaction, and it's not appropriate they be taken up at this time.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote to authorize the manager to execute a license agreement to Parth Realty LLC. In City Council, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Parth Realty LLC to encroach upon city property adjacent to the premises at 1088 1100 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. The city manager is authorized to enter into a license agreement with Parth Realty LLC to encroach upon city property for the purpose of accessing the public way, which will allow for the safe movement of the trucks and access to the easterly side of the property in the city of Lowell, and shown on Exhibit A and described on Exhibit B, and made a part of this license agreement. The license shall be predicated upon adequate insurance coverage, which coverage shall be kept in force so long as said encroachment continues under this license, and that in the event of the sale or transfer of said property, that said license shall not be assignable or transferable to any successor of the license herein. In the event that said insurance coverage shall be canceled or lapses without being renewed or replaced, then said license hereunder shall be forthwith terminated, and licensee shall have to cease and desist from said encroachment. The license shall be in accordance with the form or substantially the form attached hereto. Motion to second reading by title, excuse me. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Parth Realty LLC to encroach upon city property adjacent to the premises at 1088 1100 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Motion by Councilor,
Move to approve.
move to approve by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Laurie. Roll call, please.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, expend a grant of $60,000 for the fiscal year 2012-2013, Mass in Motion Community Transformation. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and to expend grant funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health to be administered by the City of Lowell Health Department. Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, through the Mass in Motion Community Transformation Grant Program, has available to the City of Lowell in the amount of $45,000 for fiscal year 2012 and $15,000 for 2013, for a total of $60,000. And the City of Lowell is desirous of applying for, accepting, and expending said grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the grant will make available to the city the sum of $60,000 to promote healthy eating and active living. Be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell, that the city manager be and is authorized to apply for, accept, and expend funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health through the Mass in Motion Community Transformation Grant Program in the amount of $45,000 for FY 2012 and $15,000 for FY 2013, for a total of $60,000 to provide funding for Mass in Motion Community Transformation Grant Program. Be it further voted that the city manager, on behalf of the City of Lowell, is authorized to execute any and all documents necessary in connection with said grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, including the expenditure thereof. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and to expend grant funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health to be administered by the City of Lowell Health Department. What's the wish of the council? Move for approval?
No, I'm asking a
Comment.
question.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mercia.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, this is a very important grant, especially at my age, when all the only thing you look forward to is a good, healthy meal, so that applies to me. But I'm wondering, how are they going to use this grant? Going to into the school system to talk to the children? Is it the health department nurses? What's a little bit more about this? Because it's great to get $60,000 to promote this active living, and I want to know, how are they going to do that?
Well, I don't have all the answers because they're still working through some of the details with the state, and the state which is funding this, and they've been making some adjustments along the way. Basically, this is a cooperative effort of the Lowell the Lowell Health Department, along with the Lowell Community Health Center and the Greater Lowell Health Alliance, which is a consortium of various partners and the issue of public health that the city is very involved with. Essentially, looking at two areas right now. One is primarily technical assistance that will be provided and materials that will be looking at focusing on the farmers market and working with the people in the farmers market to develop some programs to promote what they do. Secondly, and this ties in nicely with some of the other grant efforts or some of the other public efforts that we've had, is to increase the city's walkability. That still needs to be fine-tuned, exactly how that's going to be worked through, but it will be working with the Department of Planning and Development, particularly with that transportation engineer, on taking necessary actions to make the city more walkable in order to deal with the issue particularly with the issue of obesity within the city.
And it's too bad that we couldn't tie in active, healthy living through eating the right foods and staying away from drugs. Oh, I wish we could have tied that in somehow.
Well, we do have we have the Drug-Free Community Grant and the mass call grant that we've been very successful. I think we have about, I want to say, somewhere in the vicinity of $500,000 we've received under those two programs for the, particularly geared towards a general drug awareness campaign of the Drug-Free America program that the Community Health Center is doing, and then the opiate issue in particular through the call program that we're working through the community, through the health department on.
Because, Mr. Manager, I would never want a youngster to grow up and say, gee, nobody told me, I never knew. They can never use that excuse in the city of Lowell because we were out there telling you this.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Roll call, please.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Counselor Laurie?
Yes.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Noan?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a communication from the city manager appointment. Excuse me. Being 7 o'clock, we'll move to the public hearing portion of the agenda. We have one item under the public hearings from National Grid, a gas main extension on Mort Avenue. Open up to a public hearing for those who wish to speak in favor.
Evening, Steve Dombrowski with National Grid, construction supervisor. Basically kicking off the grant allocation process, extend the gas main on Mort Avenue, 65 feet to service new homes to number 11 and number 17 Mort Ave, which have been newly constructed.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'll open up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Those wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval for this.
Move for approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Laurie. Roll call, please.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Counselor Laurie?
Yes.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Noan?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick? Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Moving back to the communications portion of the agenda with the city manager, we have a communication for the appointment of Walter Tim Green to the Lowell Housing Authority. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is the labor appointee to the Lowell Housing Authority. The Merrimack Valley Central Labor Council submitted 3 names for my consideration in accordance with the statute. Tim Green of the Pipe Fitters Union, local, I believe it's local 537, out of Boston. Michael O'Keefe of our own Lowell Superior Officers Union, and Mark Payton with the Teachers Union, I believe in Billerica. Mark Payton is the incumbent member of the Housing Authority for the Labor Council. I interviewed all 3 of the candidates a couple of weeks ago, and based upon those interviews, I felt they all had something to bring to the table, but I felt it was necessary to make a change. I appreciated the efforts that Mark Payton made as a member of the Housing Authority, particularly serving as chairman, and certainly he understood the role of the Housing Authority in the community, and has done quite a bit with the Housing Authority with regards to the after-school programs and the police presence at the Housing Authority. But as I say, I felt it was time to make a change on that board with this slot. Tim Green, Mr. Green, came with quite a bit of understanding of the role of the Public Housing Authority in the community. Has a passion for what the Housing Authority can do for people. Indicated that he knew a number of people that through the years growing up here in the community had had grown up in the Housing Authority properties and the importance that that served for them in their lives. He comes with a tremendous amount of construction experience, as you would expect, being a member of the Pipe Fitters Union. Was very interested in bringing that construction knowledge to the Housing Authority, and also spoke quite eloquently about the importance of having labor and management working together to address needs of the Housing Authority, and is interested in certainly representing the interests of labor, being their designee or their representative, but the importance of working jointly with management to solve problems. Mickey O'Keefe, I think we all know Mickey O'Keefe, very active member of the community, certainly has a wonderful knowledge of the community, and he too is a strong candidate, but based upon all of the considerations, I made the determination that Mr. Green would be the best choice for this position. So it's with that I submitted this letter to you for the packet that would appoint Mr. Green to the position of Lowell Housing Authority.
Any discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a little bit of a concern and a little bit of a discussion to understand how we as a council are not supposed to influence your choice in any way, but yet if enough of us colleagues here decided not to support it, this person, and I'm not saying we're not, then wouldn't we be influencing you one way or another? So how do you differentiate between, if we're not supposed to influence you, why do we even have a say in this? Because that's my concern. I don't know. I can't explain it any better than that.
Mr. Manager.
Well, perhaps the solicitor wants to weigh in on this one as well, but let me take a shot at it. I think there's a differentiation between influencing my appointment, the name that I bring forward to the City Council, and the role of the City Council in approving or rejecting the name that I bring forward. If there's an effort made beforehand, I think that would be construed as interfering and participating in the process versus exercising the council's role and responsibility of determining whether they approve the name that's brought forward.
Having said that, your nominee here for your appointment, as you're presenting it, is involved with the Merrimack Valley Central Labor Council?
They were all submitted to me by the Labor Council, yes.
Is this person an active union member, or is he retired? Is he a retiree?
I believe he is retired, but he remains a member, an active member of the union, dues-paying member of the union. And again, I rely upon the Central Labor Council to actually make that determination for me. It is a labor position, so I leave it up to them to actually make the determination of what to them constitutes their representative.
Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going a little bit on what Councilor Mercia just said is the role of the council. I don't have a problem with the pick. It's a labor pick. They submitted 3 names, and you go with one of the 3. I don't know Mr. Green. I've met him. I remember he played ball with my brother back in high school. Everything I've heard about the guy is a Cadillac of a guy. I will say this, though. I'm disturbed when people are put on boards. They don't come to the council meeting just to be introduced. We have people that come to the meetings. We have people watching on TV. They might want to see who these board members are. This is the last time I'll vote for a board member in the affirmative who doesn't show up at a council meeting. I know your role, Mr. The city managers do the interviews and to kick them off to us. You might want to suggest they come, or it's an 8-to-1 vote, because this is the last time I vote for anyone on any commission that doesn't come before the council and just introduces themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd like to make a motion to approve, just so that we can get that on, and then I'd like to speak on the motion if it gets a second.
Sure. Motion to approve by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor?
No, I want to speak on the motion.
Okay.
It's just, In this instance, I know all three of the candidates that were submitted by the Central Labor Council. And of the three, the one I've known the longest is Mr. Green. But in the packet, there was no resume for Mr. Green. And I would not be voting for this tonight, or I'd be asking that it be delayed until there was a resume. There should have been one, not for all three, but there should always be a resume for the appointment, especially an appointment like this. I consider this to be a major appointment. But I think Mr. Green I think it's a good appointment. I'll support it. If Mr. O'Keefe had been the appointee, I would be supporting him as well. And I would suggest that maybe the manager might look at him for another appointment on that board as time goes on.
Councilor Noon?
Councilor Elliott.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor.
Go
Councilor
ahead,
Elliott.
Councilor Elliott, please.
I didn't see you.
Thank you. Some of the questions that I was going to ask were asked by my colleagues. I certainly would have liked to see the resume. I mean, I would like to know the qualification. I like to see him from all three, quite frankly. I mean, I do know, after your explanation, I do know Mr. Payton, who was a teacher, and certainly Mr. O'Keefe, but I didn't know the background. I didn't know what Mr. Green did until you told me. So that first and foremost. So, but there's also some information in the newspaper, Mr. Manager. I was wondering if you're aware with the relationship, Mr. Connors and him being Mr. Green's brother-in-law, and you know the effect that could have on Mr. Green. Did you have that discussion in the interview, or?
I did not.
No. Considering the nature of the problems at the Housing Authority, that is a concern to me. I would have thought that you may have selected somebody that would be, more independent, that didn't have any influence or part of that process. Just have it again, an independent individual that, and I'm not suggesting anything otherwise, but an independent person that come in and ask questions and shake things up over there a little bit. I think that's what we need. I think that's what that board needs, is to have someone that's going to come in and ask questions. And I certainly think that Mr. O'Keefe would have been worthy of that as well. So, but I want to follow up on a question from Council Mercier. Is he an active member or is he not an active member? Because, well, the statute says that, it's a representative from the unions, and I think in order to be a representative, you have to be a member of the union. And I think that we should find that out before moving forward, quite frankly.
I have spoken to Mr. Green about that. That question sort of made its way through to me today. And I did speak to Mr. Green, and he assured me that he is a card-carrying member of the union, has been, I believe, for quite a number of years, and remains a member of that union. So I'd like to just comment on a couple of councilors, but I'll wait for Councilor Elliott to complete his questions.
Okay. So I express my concern. I just think that considering what has taken place, that an individual with no connections would have been a pretty good choice. Thank you.
Councilor Martin. Oh, excuse me, Councilor Noon and then Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with my fellow council with regard to a candidate should appear before the council the night voting to be on the board. And I also would like very much to have resume of all three, as Councilor Elliott indicated. Going forward, of course, I know I'm not speaking tonight, but tonight if we have it, we don't, but going forward will be very helpful. And the candidate themselves should appear before the council so that, we have some mutual meet and greet, so to speak. With that said, I support the managers in terms of the interview that he have done prior to the selection, and this is the people that was referred by the Merrimack Valley Central Labor Council. We could get a verification from the chair of that council to see whether or not all three candidates are active member of the union. I'm sure they'd be happy to supply that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This appointment is a little bit different, I think, from the typical ones that we're asked to confirm, which are usually kind of wide open. Most anyone can apply, and there's a process the manager goes through, and ultimately a name is submitted. Here, by statute, we're limited to, the manager's limited to the 3 submitted by the Central Labor Council. And then we get to confirm the one or not who's submitted to us. So it's a more finite universe here of potential applicants. Certainly, I think we have 3 quality people here. Appreciate the service that Mr. Payton has given to the Housing Authority, but I think in agreement with some of the other comments that have been made, it could be time for change there, and so I can appreciate the appointing somebody new. Certainly, Mr. O'Keefe is known to most of us, if not all of us, and Mr. Green brings some, I think, professional experience that would be welcome on the Housing Authority Board at this point in time. So I think, all 3 are worthy candidates, and appreciate the Labor Council's forwarding those names, and plan to support the name that was submitted.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After listening to the discussion, I started counting the number of individuals that have expressed concern over the resume issue. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we delay this until we get the resumes and then bring it in, so we have a chance to evaluate, this individual.
We have a substitute motion?
Yeah.
Second by Councilor Mercia. On the substitute motion, roll call, please.
Councilor Kennedy.
No.
Councilor Laurie.
No.
Councilor Martin.
No.
Councilor Madonza.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
5 yeas, the motion passes.
And, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor
I
Mercia.
think it's only right that this took place for delay until we get the resume, and who knows, maybe that'll prompt the person to come here, so that's a good thing.
Okay, moving on to the, excuse me, sorry.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Manager.
Just by way of explanation, and the council's taking the vote, and we'll talk to Mr. Green about getting the resume. I did, in fact, I indicated to the applicants, because they were submitted to me, as Councilor Martin pointed out, it was a finite universe of candidates. It wasn't one where we sat down and I had any number of choices. They gave me the names. I felt that the interview process was appropriate, and that's why there's not a resume. I think the council will know that I always submit the resume of the candidate that I'm appointing, and in this case, similar to I believe the way this was handled several years back for the labor representative, they give me the names and I make a choice based upon the interviews, and I bring that name forward. So I just want Mr. Green to be, everyone to be assured that it wasn't Mr. Green didn't have, well, I'm not sure if he does have a resume or not, but there wasn't any effort to not provide you with information. Secondly, in fact, Mr. Green indicated we had a discussion when I told him he was going to be appointed, and we talked about actually him coming, and he expressed some concerns, as I think other people have as well, that in the past, that if they show up, it makes it look like they're pressuring the city council in some way, and they don't want to make it look like that's the case. They certainly are more than happy to come in and meet with the city council, meet the city councilors afterwards. But having all said that, I just wanted it to be clear that Mr. Green has been fully cooperative during this entire process, and we certainly want to, we'll get that information to the council with his resume. We'll get that to next week.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say from my earlier remarks, it has nothing to do with resumes. Under planning form of government, as I understand it, the manager can make the decision to send up the name, and if I'm correct, we confirm. By not coming to the meetings, it's just a disregard for this council. It's almost saying, well, the manager pointed me to the board, it's over. Well, it's not over. And we have an opportunity to turn that nominee down. Not that I would. I don't have a litmus test for anyone. If someone doesn't agree with me, fine. I don't think anyone wants anyone agreeing with me. But it's just a respect for the council, for the body itself, that I think they should come. If they don't, I'm not going to vote for them. I'm not saying they have to be here, but just out of respect for the body itself. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, moving on to subcommittee reports. I don't believe we have any for tonight. So we'll move on to general petitions. We have a general petition by Douglas E. Hausler, attorney for Dennis and George Scannell, regarding the construction of a billboard along the Lowell connector and the Tanner Street property. Yeah, I believe we have a speaker registered tonight. You could just state your name and address for the
Yes,
record.
I'm Dennis Scannell. My residence is 271 Sanders Ave, and the business address is 50 Tanner Street. We've been there since 1879. And I'd like to thank the city manager and the assistant city managers for inviting me for a photo shoot when the boiler heads that were put in 1890 were removed from City Hall. They were working for about 100 years. And I think that's kind of a good thing for our company. It's kind of a bad thing. Nowadays, you can't get anything that works for 100 years. I just kind of try to give you an idea of some of the things that we did and what our company has done in the past 100 and some odd years that we've been here. Most of the boiler plants and the heating plants for commercial places and industrial and some residential were built by Scannell Boiler Works all the way through the years. And some of the other projects that would add a little bit of a light to it, we built portable heating and energy plants from when they dug the Panama Canal. We teamed up with the Brox family when they had an idea. It would be a great idea to go to Waterville Valley and maybe put a ski tow in. We built the first ski tow here in Lowell. There was also a company up in Maine who thought about a pretty good idea of making bottled water, and nobody ever thought that that could ever possibly go. That company was named Poland Springs. We built the giant stainless steel tanks for them. And to this day out in Andover, most of the shampoos that are made out in Andover, they have our storage tanks in the Gillette company. And we also have some up here in the water intake plant in the boulevard, gigantic tanks that we had to bring over Sunday mornings at, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, because they're so big they would take up both lanes in the highway. So we brought them over. Some of the things that we've done lately, and the Tremont Yards building right next to the right next to the post office, we built that building, all the structural steel. We did both smokestacks for St. John's Hospital, and now it's Saints, and St. Joseph's back in then. Those smokestacks are ours. We built the parking garage over here. We built McQuaid and Hump buildings. We were there for 2 years, all the structural steel. We did all access gates to LaLasha Park. So I can go on and on. We built the juvenile court, the rear addition. We have a very active company still, and we have a lot of people who work down there, and we just like to keep going. And we just come up with a pretty good idea, and we petitioned a number of years ago, I think it was 4 years ago, to construct a billboard along the highway. This would be a message board for people coming into the city, and if there's any events going on, they can advertise it on the message board. And sometimes, you know, on the way out in the morning, if you know there's a ball game or a play or an activity in the city, you can see it on the billboard, and maybe that'll increase the attendance at the La Lasha or the arena or some of the events down here. So we run into a little snag. We have a disgruntled neighbor, and we were asking the city council if we could move the billboard about 75 feet into an abutting property that we own. And that's why we're here for today. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Scannell. Councilor Kennedy?
I would move that we refer this to the Division of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation.
I was going to ask for a referral to the law department first, but
Okay.
Madam Solicitor.
Thank you. It actually is something that probably would be appropriate in this particular case. There's been ongoing litigation for about 4 years with respect to this site, and the petition, to which we can prepare a report and recommendation to the council, would speak to the nature of the settlement, what the parties are hoping to achieve, and specifically what's being asked of the council, which in this case, what is being asked of the council is to remove a restriction that had attached to the property, that the Scannells build a billboard on that particular site.
That I
Councilor Kennedy.
move that we refer it to both, but to the Division of Planning and Development and the Law Department for 2 reports and recommendations.
Sure.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Elliott to refer to both the Law Department and the Department of Planning and Development. Councilor Mendonça.
Just before we have a vote,
Sure.
just to clarify, is this to replace a billboard or for constructing a new billboard to the,
This is to construct a new billboard.
so there isn't one already there, it's just the original proposal is in dispute, you want to put it in a different location?
Right.
Any further discussion? Seeing none?
Just one
Councilor
question.
Laurie.
The billboard itself, that would be for community use?
A portion of it will be for community use,
Oh, great.
and for whatever activities are down in the city. As now, if you don't read it in the Lowell Sun, you may sometime miss a game or miss an event or something in the auditorium.
Okay, thank you.
And the Amber Alert, too. That's important.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Scannell. When you say a portion of that use will be for city use, are we going to get it pro bono, or are we paying a price?
Oh, you don't pay anything. Rita, we would never charge you for anything.
Thank you, Dallin. Move approval.
Councilor Broderick.
This was approved by us for the parcel, the original parcel that Mr. Scannell referenced some years ago, and it's been in dispute with a neighbor. Is that the case? Maybe
Madam
3 years?
Solicitor.
That sign went through the proper permitting through the ZBA. I believe they needed a variance to do that. And any future sign would also, and a future site would also, again, trigger a review from the appropriate board. So this would strictly be limited to removing the requirement that the billboard be built on that particular site as part of the sale of city land to Mr. Scannell.
But we still will buy that piece. So
Correct.
that piece from the city will go on the tax roll.
Right.
And this structure will be on the tax roll. And this is the beginning of the Tanner Street redevelopment. We're waiting for you guys to come down. We can't wait. Turn the whole neighborhood around.
Thank you. Can, Mr. Scannell, can they now, they don't need a vote from us to continue. I assume they have to go before the ZBA now again for the excuse me, to move it to the other parcel? That's something they could pursue now while we're waiting for, I assume the opinion wouldn't take long, but while we're waiting for the opinion and for this council to take action?
Right. Well, right now, they're under the requirement to build it on that particular site, but they could certainly begin the process of permitting review from the ZBA, which is what would have to happen with respect to that second site.
What's the council's What do we do next? We get an opinion back? Is this something that goes to a public hearing?
No, action can be taken next week once you get all of the information before you pursuant to the petition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Councilor Martin.
My questions have been cleared up. I'm all
Okay.
set. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motions on the floor? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Moving on to the motions portion of the agenda, we have our first motion by Councilor Kennedy. Council requests that the proper department replace dead-end sign at the end of Cheryl Lee Lane. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Kennedy.
It's already been put up, so everything's fine, so let's just,
Your first successful motion. Congratulations.
Quick.
Stole my thunder.
Next motion by Councilor Laurie. City Council requests the city manager have proper department give an update report as to the synchronization of traffic lights in the city. Seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the motion itself is self-explanatory. You know, I was reading when they did the 495 belt in 38, they synchronized some lights. I guess we'll be synchronizing some lights shortly in the city. We're having the new bridges done. We're having a new bridge put in. And just, not a timetable, but just an idea as we go along the process on synchronizing the lights through technology, cost, and the feasibility of having it done. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, you may recall that Councilor Elliott filed a motion towards the tail end of the last council's calendar, requesting us to do some work on developing. We worked through a number of issues as to how that motion would be utilized. The end result was that we're developing a traffic a report generally on traffic in the city overall, and we have our first meeting of the group that's going to be working on that, the task force, and we'll be making a report out to the council hopefully in the very near future, which will include the synchronization of lights. So I would say that we'll probably be attacking that through that other motion and bring that in, and I would anticipate that then the traffic subcommittee, transportation subcommittee, could take that up and work with us on implementing that.
Great, thank you so much.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next motion by Councilor Noon. Motion that City Council requests manager provide information about after-school programs available in the city. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may expand on that a little bit, that I know program that being provided, the agency provide the program and the hours from what hour to what hours. If it's school, I'd like to know what school provide that program so that going forward, looking forward to have after-school program at certain area, spot area like Morris School and or the closest to prevent or proactively address issue of crime and safety in our city. So I just want to get information first so that I work toward that. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Motion to adjourn. By Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted.